Hi guys, so in these first two DVDs, what we're gonna cover a basic leg transition, right? And when I say that, I mean, we're gonna start with a single leg X, Ashigarami position, and we're gonna build from there. And ultimately, we're gonna transition from the outside attacks to the inside. But along the way, we're gonna do with counters, we're gonna do with what to do when they do this defense, when they do that defense, right? It's gonna be really structured. That, to me, is the best way to learn it. So we're gonna practice that for a long time. That's gonna develop the skills for us to be efficient and effective at heel hooks, right? We're gonna move slowly here. So we're gonna use those. That's gonna be the basic guide for maybe, I would say, depending on how much you train, even 6 to 12 months. You wanna be really effective at that. You wanna always know where to go, right? The entries, that's what we're gonna work in the second DVD. We're gonna look at some interesting positions. You're gonna see heel hooks can come up from just about anywhere. Some of those entries are gonna take even longer. You're gonna have to be really effective at heel hooks, at the basic heel hook, the basic finishes, and at keeping leg control. Keeping leg control, again, that'll be the first DVD. That'll be once we've got a leg, how do we maintain control throughout all the different transitions? And that'll be switching between the first leg and the second leg. Sometimes we attack an outside heel hook on the left, then we switch to an inside on the right. Sometimes we can switch outside to outside. But again, that's basic. The second DVD, the entries, that's gonna take a lot more time. We're gonna do some entries from the knees. We're gonna do some entries from a standing single leg X. This position we're gonna cover in depth in DVD 2 is gonna be called the reverse X. So that's gonna be a relatively new position for most people. Some people would have seen it from single leg X, but very few people have seen it from the butterfly guard position or the half butterfly guard position. If you wanna see how I use that, you can look at my matches with Nathan Orchard. I was able to get a reverse X finish on him. And even in the recently against Leandro Lowe, I was able to utilize sort of the reverse X position. So it's like we really have a structured learning phase, and then I want you to make these techniques your own. So we use the drilling period. So when you learn these techniques, obviously you drill them for a long time, that gives you the skills and the movements. That means we can now do the techniques, but we don't have timing. So obviously practice these moves until you can efficiently do them. And then don't take these moves and try it at the higher level opponents. We want to take it to the lower level guys in the gym. And I'm not asking you to go out and apply heel hooks to white belts and try and injure them and stuff, right? What we want to do is we want to practice the entries and the control to develop our timing. So you could drill something for 10 years, right? That means you're going to be really effective at that movement, but that's not going to give you timing. And the way I like to think about it is you could have a perfect move, but if you use it at the wrong time, it's not going to work. You could be pretty okay at a move, but if your timing's perfect, it's still gonna work, right? So this is a long process. So take these techniques, practice them until you're efficient at the movement, then take these techniques to lower level opponents. Then we start developing timing and then we climb the ladder, right? So this is a slow process, right? I don't want you to think that, especially in the way most classes are structured to appeal to a large number of people, where we change techniques every day. You wanna be drilling these for a long period of time. That's how you get effective at it. So again, some of the moves are pretty complicated, especially in the second DVD. Don't get frustrated. Expect it to take a long time, and eventually we'll get it down. I'll just add one more thing, guys. There's a lot of contention within the jiu-jitsu community about leg locks as if they're some separate part of jiu-jitsu, and as if the guys that go for leg locks only go for leg locks, and as if the traditional guys only use traditional jiu-jitsu, right? I want to say that the balance is in between, right? Like everyone knows of a backstep heel hook. Like I'm passing the guard and I'm backstep. If I'm not really trying to pass the guard, it's going to be obvious my intention is to backstep. They'll see it a mile away. So if I am, as the traditional guys say, one track minded on leg locks, they're actually harder to get. I'm never going to find it, right? If I'm playing guard and I'm just looking for leg locks, guys see that coming, they shut it down, right? If I'm playing I'm trying to sweep, maybe I'm trying to turn things into takedowns, maybe I'm even playing a traditional closed guard position, and I take the leg lock opportunities as they come, rather than just force and only do leg locks, you'll have much greater success, right? So I think leg locks have come in a big way recently, right? So I want to say that they're not something separate to jiu-jitsu. Say when the berimbolo came out, a lot of traditional guys had a problem with the berimbolo. They were like, I don't want to add that to my game. But again, the fact remains, if you're not good at the berimbolo, you're rolling in a gi. A guy that's good at the berimbolo is going to kill you, even if you're better just about everywhere else in jiu-jitsu. If you have that void in your game, those guys are going to rightfully exploit it. Exactly the same with leg locks. It's easy to say that if I have good fundamentals and good basics that the leg lock attacks won't be there. I agree that is true to a certain extent, but again, if you're not willing to learn that game, you're going to have a void in your game and it's going to be exploited. So you'll see a blue belt that's really good at heel hooks could potentially beat a world-class gi black belt. And that's not to say the blue belt's better, it's just to say that there's a hole in the game. And jiu-jitsu is changing all the time. Leg locks are relatively a new thing in terms of how effective they've become. Like, they've always been around. I agree they've always been around, but nowadays guys have really taken it to another level. Just like with the berimbolo evolves every year. So whether or not you like leg locks or not, you have to add them. It's not something different. It's a part of the game now. So I want you to remember that when you're using what we learned in this DVD. I'm showing purely leg locks in this DVD, right? But if you're only attacking leg locks, easy to see, easy to shut down, right? I want you to add the leg locks to the rest of your game. So when you're trying to pass the guard, maybe you have leg locks in mind, you want to backstep, you want to grab a leg. We're not just going to go for that, we're going to really try and pass the guard, we're going to really try and force half guard before we make those transitions. And the same from the ground, right? The same from when you're playing guard. I want you to be really attacking sweeps. And in those transitions, you'll find opportunities to enter the leg locks that wouldn't be there had you just been looking for the leg lock positions. I think that's something really important to remember. Obviously, as you're new to leg locks, you want to practice them a lot, you want to use them a lot in rolling, but if you want to make them effective at a higher level, you're going to have to combine them with what you've traditionally been doing or what you've traditionally learned. Alright guys, so let's look at a basic concept that I like to use for attacking leg locks and defending leg locks. And what I call it is like either two legs inside their two legs, or if my two legs are outside their two legs. So say if we're both on our butt here, so we're having a battle for leg control, whoever gets two legs inside is going to be safe. So I'm pretty safe from just about all of the leg locks from the other end, and for me it's quite easy to slip in to a leg lock attack myself. And this goes the same as if, like, we can use this defensively too. So obviously you could use it offensively, like, because a lot of guys like to pass the guard. Imagine I get two legs inside and we fall back for leg locks. So we can use that offensively, but also keep it in mind defensively. So like if my opponent has really good leg locks, I'll try and always keep two legs inside. There's always going to be a danger one leg outside. They might invert through, or if they get two legs inside, they might get to single leg X and they can start to attack theirs. So for me, from a defensive standpoint, if I want to keep clear, I'm always working two legs inside. So even if one leg ends up out, I'll try and pummel it in. And it's the same if we reverse rolls. If my opponent on top is really good at leg locks, I'll always try and play inside. I'll never leave a foot hanging out. If a foot hangs out, they grab that, they sit back. So that's sort of loosely the concept I want you to think about playing with. And a good way to do that is from double guard pull. So a game I like to play is we start here and we both battle until one of us gets inside leg control. So this is the very early stages of leg pummeling. So if we did the drill, we usually start one leg in, one leg out, and now we both attack. So we're trying to kick legs clear, bring it in. They might pummel it back, and we keep having this battle until one of us gets two inside. So it's a battle for safety and it's a battle for dominant positions before we even really get to a position where we can attack the leg lock. Alright, so continuing on from the leg pummeling, let's imagine we've pummeled, we've got two legs inside, right? So the attack I want to go for from here, more so than an attack, is just a dominant position. And you would have heard this position called a number of different things. I know some people call it like a Ashigarami, which is like a traditional Japanese name, or if you're from more the IBJJF background, you call it single leg X. I just call it single leg X, right? So we've landed in our dominant leg pummel. I want to attack the single leg X on this side. So that means I let go with the right hand. I drop my knee to the floor and I pull their knee past. And as I do that, I slide in as deep as I can. So we drop, I pull myself in and I put the foot back on the head. So ideally here, I want to clamp the heel inside the hip here, and I want to try and hide the toes as best I can with my knee. Obviously, different body proportions make this more difficult, but the better I can hide these toes, the more we're going to block their escapes. Quite often, guys will try and push that foot off. And again, they'll try and push it off from the toes sometimes. If you've got a real good heel clamp, they'll push the toes first and the foot will slide off. So obviously, the deeper I get, the deeper this foot can come, and the better I can hide the toes from my opponent. So let's look at what we're doing with our other foot here. So we can see it best from this position. So single leg X, a lot of guys will have the inside foot on the same leg as the outside foot, right? But we're going to play it a bit different. So I'll show you the angle. So what I'm going to do is when I'm in this position, I want to cut the butt here. So I really want to pull them in. And again, this not only traps their hips to us, it also protects our foot. Because if I leave my foot on the inside here, guys can actually do this. Like it's like a heel hook here, and it comes on real quick because we're actually trapping our own foot. Or another thing, guys, they'll just go for a regular toe hold from here. And especially if I'm going for like a straight ankle lock and they grab a toe hold, that's going to come on very quick. It's going to do a lot more damage than my, say, straight ankle lock grip. Obviously, if I had an outside heel hook, it's a bit of a battle there. Sometimes I think the toe hold will come on quicker still. So unless you're willing to not down to that, I would hide that foot. So again, just like we're talking about, this top foot is as deep as possible. Our butt is as close to their butt as possible. We don't want to be out here, right? If I clamp it out here, they can straighten their leg and they can pull their leg out better. So it slides out, right? The closer I'm in, the more bend we create in this leg. We can create that bend with our hips here. So I can apply a bit of hip pressure, it bends their knee, and it's very difficult to pull out a bent leg here. They want to straighten the leg to pull it out. So now if they try and pull out the leg, they sort of pull me with them. If the leg's straight, it's hard to hang on to this. Even with a straight ankle lock grip, they can slide that out. So again, sometimes when it's dry early in the match, those things aren't as important, but as time goes on, as we get sweaty or maybe they shave their legs, all those details need to be perfect. So again, we're hooking this butt cheek here. We're hiding the top foot. My butt is close in, and I apply a bit of hip pressure into the knee. I'm actually resting. We switch the angle. I'm resting onto my shoulder here. So I tuck the elbow, and I'm on my shoulder. So I'm applying hip pressure in. And I'm not applying hip pressure in a way that pushes me away. The hips are coming in just like an arm bar. On the shoulder, on the elbow, we're trying to hide the toes. We're hooking the far butt cheek here. And that's the basic positioning for the single leg X or Ashigarami if you prefer to call it that. But that's how I try and clamp them there. So that's where we're going to build. We're going to build a system that progresses from the outside heel hook all the way through to the inside heel hook. And along the way there'll be lots of stops. We'll counter their counters, and we'll look at different ways to apply the heel hook. Alright, so let's look at exposing the heel in terms of getting the heel hook. But what I think a lot of DVDs don't teach is how to deal with someone when they give the incorrect response or the incorrect defense. So a lot of times you'll see high-level instructors teach a move, and they'll teach it as if the person they're applying the move on is going to do a high-level defense. But sometimes you roll the lower belts, they're crazy, they do anything, they roll the wrong way. Sometimes it catches you by surprise. So I like to really hammer this down here in terms of the position we're in, right? If they keep their foot on the floor here, they're hiding the heel. Like it's going to be hard for me to get bite on the heel. So we have to create a heel exposure, and we will do that. That'll be the next step. But some guys feel like the correct response is they want to turn to their left and run and try and pull this knee out, right? So come up with their hands, they pull the knee out. Why that's the incorrect response is because you do this real slowly. As they turn away, they expose the heel here. So they're giving us a look at their heel, right? Obviously if it's slippery or if our positioning's off, that escape can still work, and you see it at a higher level. But what people do to escape is they clear this knee. You can see this knee is firmly in the space of my hips here. Like I've got some knee control here. The minute this knee slips, so if the knee was out at all and I tried to attack a heel hook, I actually have no pressure on the knee, because when the knee's out and we turn the heel, we actually turn their hip. So the pressure comes onto the ankle and hip. And at a higher level, guys, you see in many competitions, they're not going to tap to anything that's going to damage the ankle. And obviously, there's really not much hip pressure here. But most people, when I say most, are going to tap if we can apply the pressure to the knee. That being said, again, the outside heel hook is sort of less catastrophic damage. So you see a lot of guys take the wear and tear of that and still rip their knee out. Inside heel hook's going to do a lot more damage. Guys might not tap, but that is definitely going to change the course of the fight. So we keep moving on here. What I want you to think about when they turn the wrong way is that this knee pressure, so my knees are pinching together real tight. And as they turn, I lay flat on my back. So as they expose the heel, I lay flat on my back here. My knees are pinched real tight, and I grab this heel here. And you can see, if you look at the grip here, right, we're gonna go into finishes in more detail, but I want you to grab the heel onto the wrist. So you can either point to yourself with your thumb, or you can cup the wrist, cup the heel with your wrist. What I don't want to see is the heel in the elbow. The heel in the elbow quite often slips clear, and that's what we want to avoid. So we come back. We'll really go into detail on this because guys rolling away can be incredibly frustrating, right? So as they roll away, my knees remain pinched. I stay flat on my back. I take the heel exposure and I slide my shoulders along the floor. You can see again, that's creating bend in the leg. The knee pinch, this knee is blocking this knee from getting cleared. If I leave this knee too wide, they pull their knee out. And again, we're here. We're not going to make anything happen in terms of heel hooks. Obviously, we do have a look at their back. They're exposing their back momentarily, but we'd rather take what they've given us in terms of they've exposed the heel. We want to capitalize on that and finish, right? So again, we're here. They start to turn away. Pinch the knees, expose the heel, and stay flat on our back. While we stay flat on the back, right, change the angle. While we stay flat on the back and not on the side, ultimately we're going to end up with two legs on this side. If I turn to my side with the heel, it actually gives me better bite on the heel, but I can't pull my foot out. My foot can get trapped. And we're not going to finish it here. It's possible, maybe if they're not experienced in leg locks, they might still tap from here, but the pressure's not the same. It's hard for me to generate hip pressure while this foot's stuck. So what we want to do, we want to finish off, we go back, roll again, we expose the heel, stay flat, and drag our shoulders in. And you can see, it makes it quite easy to get this foot out. But this part isn't simple either. In terms of throwing two legs to the outside, I don't want to go wide. If I go wide with this leg, they still pull the knee out. That's a real common mistake I see people make, right? So we're here, we're pinching real tight. The way I clear this foot and throw it to the outside is by maintaining knee pressure in. So this knee stays here. My knees stay clamped. And you can see the knee pressure remains throughout the whole transition here. So again, we're not going wide with this. We're going to lose the knee here. This has to stay tight. So we pinch, and the foot comes out, but the knee pressure remains in. And we land, and depending on body size, we can change the angle here. So we should come back up. So we've got the heel exposure again. We can either do the thumb, we can cup the heel with our wrist. We've got the clamp. In terms of how we want our legs to finish, I end up with, it's like a half body triangle, right? We're not going under the knee here. It's actually a little bit looser. It's hard for me to keep the clamp, and I find their knee slips out. What I want to do is this half position. So it's not a closed guard. It's actually here, just in the middle of the calf, and I bring both feet to my butt here. Because what that causes bridging pressure. So we can come up with our hips here. And that's what's really going to put a lot of pressure on the heel and the knee, especially the knee. So once we've secured this position, we've still got the heel. We can now finish the heel hook. So what I want you to do, we keep your thumb angled towards you. The reason we do this is because it means the heel gets trapped on the wrist here. So if I'm sliding down, it gets blocked. If it was just my wrist here, if my thumb was pointing the other way, you can see it's a smooth surface to slip off. So again, we want the heel just below the wrist, as close to the wrist as possible. It creates a real good bite. It's actually hard for me to slide the wrist off. If we turn it the wrong way, it's gonna come off. So we were here, thumb towards us. We're gonna go a gable grip. So again, we're gonna go palm to palm. For those guys new to jiu-jitsu and they haven't heard that term, a gable grip is palm to palm. And what's important with this grip is we use the grip to pull our elbows together. So I'm pulling my elbows real tight together here. I don't want my elbows high, because you can see, the higher the elbow is, the greater the chance it slips. So this grip we actually use this grip to pull our elbows in. Now to finish the heel hook, what I don't want to do, I don't want to drag the heel across my body, and I don't want to turn with the heel. Like, I don't know where it comes from, but instinctually people hear heel hook and they think they want to turn really aggressively, right? But if I turn that way, I'm turning the direction they need to roll to escape. So watch this, if I start to turn, they actually roll with me, and the heel hook doesn't come on as clear. And sometimes they escape in transition. So we come back. So they're gonna roll. Again, heel explosion, knee pinch. So what I wanna do, once I've got the grip, I wanna drag the heel to my center line here. So I wanna drag the heel this way, and I wanna turn my shoulders this way as I lift my hips up. So we lift the hips, we drag the heel, and we get the tap. So you can see the finish there. We won't go over it too much, but if you think about this, right? The shoulders, so the toes are trapped in the armpit. When my shoulders move this way, it drags the toes this way. When the hand, the gable grip, pulls towards the center line, we've got a force going in a different direction. So the foot's turning like this, right? If we didn't move the shoulders, it's just the heel coming up. If we combine them both, we're actually turning the foot, the ankle at a real aggressive angle. And then when we apply hip pressure, it really drags a lot of the force under the knee. Without hip pressure, quite often guys, we'll still be able to roll. So you can see this, right? So coming back to the position. So this is our finishing position. If I just turn, they can actually still manage to move their hips a bit here. If I lift my hips, right? So if I lift the hips and they try and roll, it actually applies the heel hook to them. When we lift the hips, it's as if they have to roll over something. So we'll do it one more time. So again, this is what we're doing. I consider this the wrong response because it's a high risk move. But again, if it's slippery, if you need to get out, if you need to make something happen, it's definitely a viable option, right? So we're in our heel hook position. They start to turn. We want this knee pinch tight. And again, I'm dragging my shoulders and taking the false grip. If I don't drag the shoulders, the legs stay straight. So I'm dragging to this angle, right? Again, back's flat on the floor, hips are flat on the floor. Knees are pinched. Knee remains pinched as we pummel it. So again, we're not gonna go wide. We keep the pressure and we go to this half body triangle position. Connect the gable grip, and again, heels below the wrist. It's not in the elbow slivers. We lift our hips, shoulders come to the side, and the heel comes to our center line. And it should come on with not much force at all. What I will say, we'll add one more grip here, right? And this does come up a lot. At a high level, guys are pretty mobile with the ankles. They can slip the heel, or it's slippery, right? So let's look at it. If you just turn it that way. Ideal world, this is where we end up, right? Sometimes in transition, it does end up in the elbow. If it ends up in the elbow, we don't want to use a gable grip. You can see all that space there. They can rotate your ankle here. Even when I pinch my elbows together, there's all this space. So again, rather than landing here, readjusting back to here, giving them opportunity to escape, if the heel slips, instead of gable with all this space, we're going to go to a butterfly grip. So I'm going to slide our wrists together. We're going to grab the top of our forearms and use that to pull our elbows together. And you can see there's no space there now. Again, I wouldn't use this as the first option because I feel like we don't want to aim for the elbow because there's still a higher chance of it slipping out. I like the idea of aiming for the wrist, and if it slips, gives us a second look. Obviously, if I aim straight for the elbow and we miss it, we've got nothing. If I aim for the wrist and it slips, it's going to slip to the elbow, and then we can adjust our grip accordingly. Alright, so we covered what to do and how to attack if they try and turn and run away. You'll see a lot of experienced Lego guys. It looks like they're just hanging out here and being comfortable. It almost looks, sometimes you see it, you think, oh, is this guy being arrogant and not actually trying to escape? But what they're doing is they're hiding their foot along the floor here, right? Because it's hard for me to expose the heel. But we're gonna do a little trick to expose the heel even though they're hiding it here, right? So again, you might see in some matches, guys are really comfortable hanging out here defensively, and that's because they're not respecting the opponent's heel exposure. But we're gonna do a little trick to try and get this heel off the ground. And again, get the heel on the wrist and not the elbow. What we want to do, we've landed in this position, obviously everything's clamped tight, our knees are pinched, we're really close, we're butt to butt. What we're going to do, we're going to drag our elbow in and fall to our shoulder. And I'm going to lift my hips up just to put their foot inside my elbow gap here. So where we want to place it is just here, right? So we haven't exposed the heel. It's sort of like a pit stop between the heel exposure and the initial defensive position. And again, no matter how big they are, like, I want you to move your hips up and you can lift the foot. So get your partner to try and keep his foot on the floor. Your hips are going to lift it. They're going to lift it at least enough to put our elbow under there. So again, that's step one. It's like a pit stop. It's like in between. We're securing it, but we're not actually completing the position yet. So again, we fold our elbow and our shoulder. We lift our hips up. When I say up to the sky, not up and in like an armbar. So up, and the foot slides up here. Now what we want to do, we want to drag our hips forward and turn our hips over. And the idea is the toes are going to remain trapped, but the heel is going to slip out. So if you guys watch this, if you can zoom in here, if you can see how the heel's on the floor, but the toes are still in the armpit. So we'll do that one more time. So we're here again, we've gone to this pit stop position, so their foot's on the floor. We drop that elbow and shoulder, I lift that foot up, and now my hip is going to rotate. So my hip rotates up and over, and my elbow slides back. And the heel slides to the floor, and you can see the heel is in the wrist. The toes are trapped, and we've got this cupping grip on the ankle. From here, we can secure the gable, and again, we're applying the finish with our hips in and heel up. I'm not rotating away. I don't want to give him a chance at escape here. So again, for the finish, it should come on real quick here. Something to remember again, with the grips, pull your elbows together. Always get in the habit of pulling your elbows together. So let's look at it one more time. Let's look at what people mess up when they start practicing this heel exposure. What they end up doing is they try and reach their hand behind them here. So they'll lift up, they'll pull the hand behind, and they'll drop their hip. You can see I've exposed the heel, but my hand's on the wrong side of the body. I actually can't just slide it back through here because my hip's weighted on their foot and their foot's heavy, so my hand's not going to come back through. And if I try and lift my hips, we're leaving space for them to hide their heel again. So again, what we want to do, the elbow drags back. So we fall into the shoulder and the elbow. We've lifted our hips. The heels ended up in the crease of our elbow here. And then again, lift your hips and drag your heel back. Drag your elbow back so the heel hits the floor. From here we can connect the grip. And again, the thumb is coming towards us here. It's not coming away. That really gives us a good bite. So then we apply hip pressure and drag the heel up to complete it. So for that one I want, the technical portion of that is actually quite simple. There's no way you can break that down in a simpler way. That one's going to be one that's going to require lots of repetition. And you want to repeat that enough that you can expose the heel quick. Because once guys are aware that you're good at exposing it from there, they're not going to hang out there very long. They're going to be pushing the foot off, trying to jump over. So in the next step, we'll address how to deal with that. Right, so we'll follow on from the last sequence of exposing the heel when they're on their side. We'll look at some things they do. We'll look at some things they do to escape and try and counter it around. So I have this rule that if I haven't exposed the heel, so if I haven't got a heel grip and they push this foot up, I'm not going to throw this leg over and hang out here, right? And we'll get to that later. We'll get to that when we talk about counters. But in my opinion, and obviously there are guys that do this very well, Eddie Cummings comes here and he exposes the heel very well. I think it is an incredibly high risk position because it gives your opponent a look at the inside. Guys are really good at hiding the heel here, and it's actually harder to expose the heel here with two outside than it is from here. And with two outside, it's actually even harder to stop them from coming up and stacking you, maybe taking the back. Or even worse, is guys get real good at pummeling this leg over and they start to switch the position up and they start to attack my inside. So if I have, say for example, if I've exposed the heel, they push the foot off, I will throw this leg over and we can finish the position here. So I will cross my feet, I will cross the outside foot over the inside foot, chances of them heel hooking us here are pretty slim, right? But we can minimize the risk by going outside over. Obviously inside over, slightly greater risk that they maybe attack this. But what I'll do outside over, I'll pull their butt to me, so I really try and hide my feet behind them, and then we can finish the heel hook. And we finish the exact same way, hip pressure and heel to the center line. But again, that's if I have a heel exposure. So specific situation is that maybe we're pretty good at exposing the heel, we're quick, but obviously that's a quicker movement, just pushing the heel off. So again, if we're here, maybe we've got a straight ankle lock grip and they throw the foot over, I'm not going to throw this leg over and hang out here. I'm not going to do that. For me, too high risk as I was explaining, and we'll go over the counters in depth later in the DVD. We'll attack the back, we'll attack the inside heel hook. So what we do, right, if, say I have a straight ankle lock grip, they push the foot to the floor and they jump their butt over, I actually grab their other leg and we switch through. And we've got an attack at this leg. So you guys can do this as a drill even. So now they're on the other side, they push this foot up, they jump their butt over, they switch. And the reason we switch is, it's very difficult to get off any sort of attack once their butt's over on the same side leg. Like it's very difficult here. Like even if I get this foot over, it's hard to bring this one out. So your best bet is, this one's already here. Switch. So we'll keep switching back and forth. And obviously, then we're at the start of the sequence again. We're at the start of this sequence to attack. But let's look at right. So what we just covered then was if they put the foot up, jump over, we don't have a heel exposure. If they push the foot off, but we don't let them jump over, right? And what you do here, this is really important, right? If they push the foot off, usually if you're trying to do a straight ankle lock or something, you're trying to rip this, you keep the foot close because you want to try and put it back on the hip, because we want to create some bridging pressure with our feet off the hip to attack this. But in terms of heel hooks, if they push this foot to the floor, I don't want to leave it there. It's so close to jump off, so I'll kick it away. I'll bring this leg through, I'll kick it, and I'll use that momentum to carry me up. I'll swing to my knees here. I'll pinch my knees together. So again, like what we're talking about with the knee control concept, the knee's close to us here, it's tight in our groin. If you can see, both my feet are on the same side here. I don't want to end up here. It's quite hard to pinch the knees together, and they'll actually probably pull their leg out really easily, like if you pull back. But with the knees pinched on the same side, they try and pull the knee out, more difficult, right? So now we've changed the position. We're in another position we can expose the heel, and it's a position that's not as easy for them to counter. So in my mind, lower risk position is a better position. So what we're going to do here, we're going to cup the Achilles, and we're going to pull a bend into that leg. And I move my knee back slightly, and then toes in the armpit, elbow to the body, and now we've created a heel exposure. A lot of people ask here, could I finish the heel hook here? And the answer is, yeah, you probably could, but against the high level guys, like I'm not using my hips here. So really most of the pressure, depending on how flexible their knee is, it's still going to come on the ankle. So once I grab the heel exposure, we go back to our hip. We tuck our feet behind and we stay close, and then we finish the heel hook here. So again, we can go back to that position because we've got the heel exposure. So again, these two legs outside, we don't want to be here on our butt flat unless we've got the heel exposure. So this is like we're adding a step, we're skipping ahead, we're grabbing the heel from a different position, and we're falling back to the finishing position. So again, we're here, they push the foot off, don't leave it here, it's so close to them to jump over. Kick it away. I kick that leg through to drag myself up, and I pinch my knees, and the more I angle in, the better. It's gonna make it easier to bend the knee. Scoop up the Achilles, toes in the armpit, and elbow to your body. So you can see we're creating bite here. As I bring my elbow to my body, I turn my thumb out. We cup the heel, and again, you can either cup it with a hand like that, or sometimes even the thumb's enough. But hand on the floor, and we fall onto our hip right next to that butt, and I pull myself in close. A common mistake people make is they expose the heel and they get overzealous and they jump back in. But again, the leg's straight, they straighten the leg, the knee's almost out. Either I won't finish it or they'll just rip their leg out here. So when we expose the heel, we have to sit close to them, right? So the foot comes off, we kick it away, we kick through, we use the momentum to carry us up. We're turning inwards, cup the Achilles, expose the heel. You can practice this. You want to be quick with this. Cup it, hand on the floor, and full close. Really close to them here. I use my feet to pull them in. Connect the grip, and again, the same finish. Hips in, heel to the center. Alright, so we'll continue the sequence. So we made it all the way through to here, and I mean, we do have an opportunity to expose the heel here, but obviously the next logical step, and the question I always get asked is, what do we do if the opponent crosses the feet? So if you are bigger or stronger than your opponent, there is still a chance that we can use that elbow to clear and still cause a heel exposure here. But let's assume that that's not the case. So what I want to do now is I want to pick up the leg, step up, and I want to sit on their stomach here. So I want to sit on them here, right? So that means if they want to push me back down, they have to come up to their hands. And if they have to come up to their hands, it means they're not fighting us with a body lock here. So obviously this is best case scenario. We're sitting on top of them here. My knees are pinched because we don't want to lose this knee. We're now switching. We're attacking this leg. We're attacking this leg. They protected it. So we're going to switch from the outside to the inside heel hook here. So what we want to do, we want to underhook this leg. We're going to base on the ground with our hand, and we're going to start to rotate around the leg all the way until my butt hits the floor. Once my butt hits the floor, I want to grab their far leg and swing all the way through so my knee's on the floor on this side. What we're then going to do is we're going to take a body triangle and we're going to grab a straight ankle lock grip on the top leg. We want to keep them on this hip here. So the best way to keep them on that hip is to apply pressure to the floor with our knee and our hip. And if we control the top leg, we've got control over their hips. So it means they can't turn away very easily. So if they try and turn to the left, they can't, well, we've got control of this leg. If we didn't have this leg, they can start to turn away, and they can do what's commonly known as like the running man escape. They're turning, gonna try and run and pull their foot out. So we'll go over that transition again. So we've made it all the way through. We're up to our knees here. We start to attack, but they cross their feet, so they're sort of blocking the outside. Again, we could still potentially clear it here. Like we can use that elbow to bump, but we'll go the path of least resistance here. And again, I think it's better to end up with the inside heel hook because it's going to do a lot more damage than the outside. Just about everyone taps the inside. Quite a few people won't tap to the outside, so that's something you have to deal with too. So we're going to pick up the knee, we're going to come up, we're going to sit on their chest here. And again, we're pinching our knees here. Because as we make this transition through, I don't want to let this knee hit the floor. Quite often guys will be loose here, they'll start to sit, and you can see, even if I end up facing, we've lost the knee here, and if we've lost the knee, we've lost the heel hook. So we come back up. So we want to keep this pinch. This is tight. We're going to come under the leg, post on the floor, and swing our butt to the floor. But before, so if they've got their feet crossed, before I make the transition all the way through, I want to control their top leg. And again, just like we were talking about before, I control the top leg because we've got double leg control, we've got hip control. If I just turn through, they might open their legs and do the running man escape straight away. And guys are very good at that. One of the best guys at that is Bagner Hosha. So we want to minimize that. So while we're still underhooking, they got the body lock, we make the switch here. So that's when I grab it. I grab it here because they can't turn away here. The angle we've got control, it's hard for them to do the running man escape. So we grab a straight ankle lock grip, post, and then we roll through and get the body lock. And now they try and turn away, they can't. So we'll do it one more time. Change the angle again. So we've come through, we're up on our knees, they cross their legs, we're going to scoop it up and sit on their chest here. We keep the knees pinched, we're underhooking the leg. I'm going to start to sit through, my butt's on the floor. And at this point, I grab the top leg. I grab control of the top leg, post, swing my knee to the floor, and get the body lock, the body triangle with our feet here. So again, we've got to control this early before we make the complete transition, because again, we don't have control of this leg, we don't really have control of the position. Very difficult to keep someone here with that double leg control.